What you get is this sense of despair in the poem, but you also get a seething anger. You get extreme vulnerability. She's being open about what she did to herself. Hi, welcome to Gathering Paradise. My name is Jenny O'Neill. We are so glad that you can spend time with us today. This poem is called Lady Lazarus. It's by Sylvia Plath. Plath is very well known, and so is this poem. I will point out one thing. Lazarus is a figure in the New Testament who passes away, and then Jesus heals him and he is raised from the dead. And Plath is calling herself Lady Lazarus. Lady Lazarus by Sylvia Plath. I've done it again. 1 year in every 10 I manage it. A sort of walking miracle. My skin, bright as a Nazi lampshade. My right foot, a paperweight. My face, a featureless, fine Jew linen. Peel off the napkin. Oh, my enemy. Do I terrify? The nose, the eye pits, the full set of teeth. The sour breath will vanish in a day. Soon, the flesh the grave cave ate will be at home on me. And I, a smiling woman. I'm only 30. And like the cat, I have 9 times to die. This is number 3. What a trash to annihilate each decade. What a million filaments the peanut crunching crowd shoves in to see. They unwrap me, hand and foot. The big striptease. Gentlemen, ladies, these are my hands, my knees. I may be skin and bone, nevertheless I am the same identical woman. The first time it happened, it was an accident. The second time, I meant to last it out and not come back at all. I rocked shut as a seashell. They had to call and pick the worms off of me like sticky pearls. Dying is an art, like everything else. I do it exceptionally well. I do it so it feels like hell. I do it so it feels real. Guess you could say I have a call. It's easy enough to die in a cell. Easy enough to do it and stay put. It's the theatrical comeback in broad daylight to the same place, the same face, the same brute, amused shout. A miracle that knocks me out. There's a charge for the eyeing of my scars. There is a charge for the hearing of my heart. It really goes. And there is a charge, a very large charge, for a word or a touch or a bit of blood, or a piece of my hair, or my clothes. So, Herr Doctor, so, Herr Enemy, I am your opus. I am your valuable. The pure gold baby that melts to a shriek. I turn and burn. Do not think I underestimate your grave concern. Ash, ash, you poke and stir. Flesh, bone, there is nothing there. A cake of soap, a wedding ring, a gold filling. Ere God, ere Lucifer, beware, beware. Out of the ash, I rise with my red hair, and I eat men like air. Lord of mercy, it's such a good poem. So already we have in the title an allusion to the Bible, and Lazarus is sort of a celebrated figure because Jesus saves him, he comes back from the dead, there's a feast. She is Lady Lazarus, and I don't think she has the same experience that he does of unambivalent welcome and rejoicing. When I first came across this poem, I felt the power of it. She's incredibly vulnerable, and she's talking about what it's like to try to yourself, be hospitalized for such, be an institution for such, to have all those around you know what happened. I think anyone who's struggled with any kind of mental health problem fears the stigma. Plath has already had enough literary success to be a known figure in this pretty small world of poets. She's also married to a known figure who's a poet, and her comparing people's analysis of her and her emotional life and her poems and her relationships and her mental health history. That's this big striptease turn on for some of these fellow writers or readers or people in her life. They want to know the whole show. They want all the gory details. That's what you want. You want to know? You want some blood? You want my hair? You want my clothes? Okay.
Sorry, that made me nearly spit up my water.
I know. We know from the first stanza, she's had one suicide attempt every decade. Each time she's gotten through it so far, and there've been 3. There's this whole idea of this being a very grotesque, maudlin striptease or reveal. Even before she uses those words, she says, peel off the napkin. Napkins are usually something we cover food or a mess in. It's this idea that she is something to be consumed. So if you peel off the napkin, her enemies, does she terrify you with her grotesque inner world? So this whole point about, is it terrifying to you? The eye pits, the full set of teeth. And then when she mentions the sour breath, she knows that. She knows how bad her breath stunk in her own mouth when they finally got to her. Soon, the flesh, the grave cave 8, will be back home on me. This is a woman who feels extremely disembodied, who probably disassociates a lot because she might have to just to survive her own mind, her world, the people around her. And you can feel this disembodiment. It's almost like she is her own pimp to her own whore, and she's gonna control this game of prostitution now. She is going to be paid. That's where we get this aggressive fury. And then the next stanza, and I, a smiling woman. She's writing this decades ago, and still women have trouble with men telling us to smile. Yes, it's true. It's not an urban myth of any kind, an urban legend, nor a country legend. It's a role, and it's one that needs to be enacted. So be pleasing, be a smiling woman. There's a lot loaded in that line, okay? Because if we're still telling women to smile, good God. I mean, she wrote this in the early 1962. So she's saying soon she'll be back to normal, right? And she'll be satisfied with her role. But there's an undercurrent. I don't think she actually means that. And I, a smiling woman. Like that smile you put on that hurts your cheeks when you're just like, yeah. Undoubtedly, in the poem, there is a scarcely contained self-hate. She indicts herself. She says, what a trash to annihilate each decade. I've thrown myself out like garbage each decade of my life. That's tragic, and it's also just the use of the word trash when we're talking about self-harm, disembodiment, is very loaded, right? Trash is not something you keep. Trash is just something you throw out. Then she goes into this sort of exhibitionism, this sort of viewer, the way the people around her see her. And she sees them as a peanut crunching crowd. A more up-to-date term would be like, and the popcorn boxes are ready. That crowd that just wants to get a thrill out of seeing her exposed, how bad it was. They want to know every detail, but not out of concern or love, out of just, it's salacious, it's new, it's gory, they don't know it. They want to know everything. They are shoving in to see. There's this idea of her being gawked at, her being like a circus freak, a sideshow, right? This munching, insatiable crowd, they shove in to see her being unwrapped, head and foot, the big strip tease. Gentlemen, and then she includes ladies, because this is a strip tease and voyeurism that happens regardless of gender. Gentlemen, ladies, these are my hands, my knees. I may be skin and bone. Nevertheless, I'm the same identical woman. Basically like, yes, miracle, freak show me. I've almost died now, again. And here I am, looking like me. Way to go, me. That is the tone of this, okay? There's never a time where she takes a direct turn towards anger. It's weaving throughout in her word choice, in what she's including, in her images, because she vacillates between this sort of self-built, not arrogance, but maybe chip on her shoulder, to someone who is just openly hating of themselves. And she becomes a confessional to the reader. The first time when she was a kid, it was an accident. The second time, it was not an accident, and she wanted it to be final. And you can't spell that out better. Listen to just these words, okay? In a poem that has words like nevertheless, or filaments, or annihilate. This line she chooses to make. The second time I meant to last it out and not come back at all. These are one syllable words. They're just sort of jabs. That's where her diction comes in right there, and her word choice. And then we get to a sort of more gentle image. I rocked shut like a seashell. They had to call and call. You get an idea of the sea and of seagulls cawing, right? The sound they make. And they're picking the worms off of her. You get the idea that these worms are very small. She describes them as sticky pearls, which is a beautiful image to put there, which is why Plath is so great, is that everything is very complicated and intertwined. After she gets so confessional and tells you that about the grave cave and the worms on her, she backs up a pace again. Maybe her defensiveness or her posturing has to come in to make herself feel like she can go on. And so she gives you that dying as an art, like anything else. I do it exceptionally well. We all know that kind of joke, where it's not a joke and it hurts, but also you make it because you're already hurting, and making the joke makes you hurt a little less. And then she comes straight, sincere confession again. I do it so it feels like hell. I do it so it feels real. And then she backs off again, which I think is such a good rendering of how we are emotionally. We give, we want to take it back because we're unsure how other people will take it. When we're talking to one person, when we're talking to multitudes of people, we reveal and then we think, did I reveal too much? So we bring it back in, especially something like this. So she says, it's easy enough to do it and stay put. It's the theatrical. Come back in broad day to the same place, the same face, the same brute, amused shout. A miracle that knocks me out. The word choice of brute and amused is so telling. This crowd is already shoving in to see this morbid, ghastly striptease. And then when they find her, it's not like the miracle of Lazarus and Jesus. It's a brute force that finds her. It's a brute and amused shout. There's a pleasure people are getting from her pain, which would make anyone angry. Directly after this brute, amused shout, a miracle that knocks me out, she proceeds. And this is where the poem is getting more and more viscerally fire angry. There is a charge for the eyeing of my scars. There is a charge for the hearing of my heart. And there is a charge, a very large charge, for a word or a touch or a bit of blood or a piece of my hair or my clothes. It's almost like she understood kind of where they were placing her in the cultural zeitgeist before her death, because boy, do people like Plath memorabilia. Has there been a movie about her with Gwyneth Paltrow playing her? Yes. She's then getting more flamboyant. You've seen me totally naked in misery, okay? And I've told you, I don't want to show my scars or tell my heart to people unless there is something reciprocal. And so it amps up, like the ante is, And there is a charge, a very large charge, for a word or a touch or a bit of blood or a piece of my hair or my clothes. And then she directs it to two particular people. Herr Doctor, so, Herr Enemy. I don't think the doctor is necessarily her ally either. She addresses the doctor, she addresses the enemy, and she tells them, I am your opus. I am your valuable. An opus is a grand piece of work, of art. It's a masterpiece. And she is saying that this is what she is to them, to her doctors, the medical, mental health profession, and to her enemies. She's just a masterpiece. Made for enemies, made for doctors. And that's so sad. I'm your opus, I'm your valuable. Again, she's objectifying. I'm this resource of gold for you. Think about mental health. You have to pay a lot even to receive bad care in America. I'm your valuable, the pure gold baby that melts to a shriek. Okay, again, we're getting images that reflect World War II. We're also getting something about innocence. This is pure and it's a baby, and it melts down to a shriek. I think there might be a slight pun, intentional or not, on the word shrink. So she's saying, Doctor, enemies, I was made for you. I am so valuable to you. I just keep giving and giving and giving. You melt me down till there's nothing but a shriek. I turn and burn. Do not think I underestimate your grave concern. That line is so great when you realize the emotional weight behind it, the aggression behind it. Like, yeah, you're gravely concerned. Sure. You heard what about me? Oh, okay. Then she goes into ash, ash. You poke and stir. Flesh, bone, there's nothing there. A cake of soap, a wedding ring, a gold filing. These are things that could be derived from her body. From the fat, you can make soap. When you burn it down or when you take it apart, you could get the gold from her teeth, you could get her wedding ring. And then she looks to two other figures, ere God, ere Lucifer. So before it was ere doctor, ere enemy. I think she's ambivalent about both the doctor and God, but they are placed in opposition to the enemy. They are things that should help. They just aren't helping. So she's telling both. These are the last tiny, like, knockout lines. I mean, this is like a one-punch knockout of an ending for a poem. She cries out to God. She cries out to Lucifer. But then instead of beseeching them for help, she is warning them. And she says, beware, beware. Out of the ash, I rise with my red hair, and I eat men like air. She warns both God and Lucifer. She's warning, things that are greater than even humans. Like, I'm a force. You should reckon with me. She's not warning her doctor or her enemies. She's warning supernatural beings that because she has crossed over and crossed back and crossed over and crossed back, and she has risen from the ashes so many times, and she has put herself together again, and she has gone through it, and here is what she is, and it's very, very clear. And it's not playful. It's not like, oh, you could say I have a call at dying. It is a declaration. She's warning the entire world, the spirit world, everyone, like, I'm a force now. I've come back and I will destroy. This is an incredibly angry and powerful, it's like a vengeful goddess from the underworld who's going to vindicate things on this earthly terrain. With this whole sort of back and forth, this dance of I'm vulnerable, I'm not. I'm sharing, I'm judging you. She then ends it with, I know who I am, and just so you know, you should know too. Okay, I guess this is what the kids would call toxic femininity. Don't silence your laugh. It's more weird to me. It cracks me up more because then you look like a Muppet. Because you're just like, you have such a big smile and you're nodding and you're holding it back. I'm looking at the Chan in the mirror.
I hate that.
I'm asking him to change his ways.